Good morning. How is everybody doing this morning? I am on the road this morning, so a whole new setup, so it's always fun to see if this is going to work. I am at my sister's house this weekend, and she got a new house, and it's all still under construction around us. So we decided to leave the dogs at home to keep the mess out of her brand new house, and the dogs are in a kennel. So I decided to do this morning's live on what skills your dog needs to do well at the kennel. So yeah, like anytime you do something different, now I'm trying to make sure it's all working. So I just want to make sure I can see comments on before I get started. Drove through some serious storms getting here yesterday. We just missed a tornado. Thank God for small favors. And, oh, there it is. And now I have to mute. There, and now I can see. Good morning, Colleen. How are you this morning? Okay, so I'm all set up. Good morning, Tony. Hope everyone's having a great Friday morning. For those who don't know me, my name is Paula Hoger. I have been a professional dog trainer for 20 years, and my goal is to help you train your ideal dog. My job is not to tell you what your ideal dog should be. My job is to help you figure that out. So everybody says they want a well-behaved dog, but everybody's definition of that is different. And that's part of what the stuff I work on. I encourage you to ask questions during the live. If you are watching the replay, write replay and then ask your question, or just write replay and tell me you're watching, because I love to hear you're watching. Good morning, Marilyn. That way I know I haven't answered your question during the live. If you're on, please send me your questions and I'd be more than happy to answer them. Since I am away this week, my dogs are in kennels, like I just said. They're at the kennel, and like any pet parent, none of us like leaving our dogs, but it makes me feel much better knowing my dogs are happy and comfortable and fine. If I know they're panicking, that will make it much worse. Because nothing will ruin your vacation like you knowing your dog's going to have a horrible time. Or even worse, getting a call while you're on vacation telling you have to come home, your dog is losing his mind, or he's hurting himself in the kennel, or whatever. So, because you really can't take back that first experience, so it's important that you prep your dog and get him as comfortable as possible with being sent to a kennel or sent to wherever it is you're going to send them, so that when you go on vacation, you can relax and enjoy your vacation. Because as much as I love having dogs, it's also a sense of freedom knowing I don't have to get up to walk them and I don't have to think about them for a few days. Especially when this past year's COVID hibernation, dogs haven't, like usually if we travel regularly, so our dogs even from a young age would have gone away to wherever it is they go. And this year, because of COVID, I haven't traveled. We were just saying this is the first night away from home since January 2020, and we were one of the lucky ones that did travel in January. So March, when everything started to get locked down, was not that far after that. But so my young puppy, who I got in April 2020, has never been away from home, has never slept anywhere away from home. I mean, we've done lots of socializing. She's been out, but she's never been camping. We did try to go camping last year, but it didn't work out. So all these things we might have just naturally done with our other dogs, this year might be a little different. So the first thing is, the first skill your dog needs is your dog comfortable with strangers? Does your dog approach a stranger, or does he hide back and hide behind you? Or does he lose his mind? Sometimes when dogs lose their mind about strangers, it is actually fear hiding as excitement, and you can't tell till they're calm and you realize they're like, oh yeah, I didn't really need to say hello. Because I've had numerous people tell me, oh, my dog loves people. And then when they're calm, they actually don't. And I've had a dog like that. When in new situations, does your dog walk up curious, head up, investigating, or is he like, oh, where are we? It's new, I don't like it. So, or worse, lunge and bark, which makes you have to turn around and get out of this new situation. If your dog is, setup, not so great. If your dog is like this, I'm in the basement. Anyways, if your dog is like this is a great time to start getting them out and doing some stuff with them so that they can start being comfortable in these situations. Go back to where I was. You don't want to overwhelm your dog. This is really important. The point when you're doing this stuff is you don't want to overwhelm. You want to constantly add small changes, whether new people or new environments, giving your dog time to get used to those changes before you add another one. I'm currently working with someone, and she just sent me a message and said, ODR is working great, and I'll talk about ODR in a minute. ODR is working great, but when we get close, he still barks and lunge. And I'm like, yeah, you got to stay back far enough that he gets practicing going, I see people, I'm okay. I see new people, I'm okay. I see new people. After hundreds of those repetitions, and not even hundreds, 20, your dog starts going, I see people, I get okay. And then you push a little harder. Okay, I see people, that's a little stressful. Okay, I can handle that. Then you push a little harder. You don't go from, I see people, I'm okay, to, oh my God, that person's too close, I'm gonna react. You want to find that line, that threshold line, and slightly nudge it on a regular basis, not go so far over it. Because what happens is you build a trigger, and the trigger is, I see strangers, I lose my mind. Nothing bad even has to happen. It's just an instant. It's like, I smell coffee and my state changes. That's a trigger because I love coffee. You might hate coffee. My husband has no association with coffee. He's had one cup of coffee and he hated it. So he smells coffee and nothing happens. For me, I smell coffee, but for him it would be, I smell chocolate chip cookies and my state changes. But then there's negative things like the sound of a dentist drill. If you don't like the dentist, the sound of a dentist drill puts you into a state of fear. This is what I mean with your dog will create triggers with strangers, is the sight of a stranger will put them instantly into a state of fear. You really want to avoid that. So that's why it's important to keep them above threshold and just keep working that line and building. If you set up the trigger, it can be retrained, but it's harder because first learned, best learned. This is a perfect situation to play ODR. This is my game called Observe. ODR stands for Observe, Don't React. ODR teaches a dog how to watch and keep his brain in his head. If his brain's in his head, if he's at the end of the leash pulling, his brain, I always consider it like the brain is out of the head and the environment pulls it out and they're much more likely to react. If they're calmly sitting beside you, and ODR is all about teaching them be able to watch things on a loose leash. They're calmly sitting beside you, the brain's in their head, they're much more capable of being thoughtful, of looking and going, okay, I don't need to bark at that. I was working with a dog the other day and he went bark and then he was like, oh yeah. You could see him pull himself back and go, no, I have to stay calm. And that's what is a rewardable behavior. I will put the link to my Facebook Live on a deep dive on ODR in the show notes. So you guys can look more into that if you want to. So taking this one step further, when you go to a kennel, you almost always have to give your dog to somebody else and they walk away. Hardest thing in the world. In the past year, at least in Ontario, we've had to do that at the vet. The vets or the vet staff come take your dog at the parking lot and take it away into the building. It is so much easier on you if your dog's like, see ya, and walks away instead of crying or fighting or arguing. Not the greatest start to the vacation you want. So you can start working on that right away. Start somewhere with a person your dog considers a stranger, or doesn't have to be someone he's never met, but someone he doesn't know and is comfortable with. And you start it somewhere very familiar, like your own backyard. You hand the person the leash, the person gives them 5 cookies, he hands you the leash back. You do this till your dog's like, when you hand the leash over, your dog looks at the person and is like, where's my cookies? Awesome. Then the next step becomes, you hand the person the leash, they give 5 cookies, but you walk away. You do this till the dog's like, looks at you walking away, is like, bye, I'm getting cookies. Then the last stage of this game is you hand the person the leash and they walk away from you, rewarding your dog. And again, you do it till the dog is totally comfortable walking away from you. So this you start somewhere where the dog's familiar. So your backyard and your house, then move it somewhere where your dog's unfamiliar, but maybe the environment is still quiet, like an empty parking lot or an empty park. Somewhere where there's not a lot going on, repeat the steps. They might go boom, 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 or if the dog's more worried about his environment, you might have to build the steps up again. And the last stage is do it where it's busy. Go to a busy parking lot, a busy park, somewhere where your dog's unfamiliar and there's a lot going on. Can he still walk away with that person? Now, when you go to the kennel, your dog's like, I've done this. This is easy. And you feel so much better. I hate dropping my dogs off. It's so hard to leave. But when they're like running around where I drop my dogs off, I open the gate and I put them sort of in a fenced in area. And they're running around, visiting the handler, running around. They don't even notice when I leave. That's what I want. Much as I'm like, couldn't you be sad? At the same time, it makes leaving so much easier. Okay, let me find my way in my notes because watching the notes is not working so well. Okay, the next step that is super important if you're going to leave a dog in a kennel is crate training. I think crate training is super important to have a well-behaved dog because it is so handy, and to me, it is the first step to teaching your dog self-control. But it goes without saying your dog is going to be more comfortable if he's in a kennel, if he's already comfortable in a crate. I am not a huge fan of crateless kennels or boarding places. I guess they're not called kennels if there's no kennels. Anyways, I realize the thought of your dog not having to be contained in a kennel or crate makes you feel less guilty about leaving them. I get the logic behind that. But I think this can be more stressful for dogs. I compare it to when my son goes to school. He comes home and he needs downtime. He needs alone time. He's been socially active all day long, and as much as he's a social kid and he's enjoying it, he needs to recover from all that social stuff. And my son's super social. If you've got a kid who's less social, that's even harder for them. Your dog lives his life with 1, 2, whatever dogs you have in your own home, and he's okay with that. But constantly dealing with, let's say, 20 dogs or 10 other dogs is exhausting. It's not a bad stress, but it is exhausting. And to do it, let's say, for a whole week, that's a lot of extra stress on your dog. I think to me, I would leave my dog somewhere where they let them out for free play an hour a day with other dogs. That's fine, as long as the kennel owners are good at pairing dogs appropriately and there's somebody supervising the play. That's wonderful. I think that's great. It gives them exercise. They get something to do. But then I want them to be kenneled or crated the rest of the time. So they learn to relax. They have a chance to recover. They rest. I don't want them super exhausted at the end of the week because they've been dealing with this social anxiety for a week. So that is my opinion on that. I have a crate training live. I will put the links in the show notes. A lot of people, so back to crate training, a lot of people use their crates only at night. A lot of my puppy owners, oh yeah, my dog sleeps. I'm like, is your dog crate trained? Oh yeah, my dog sleeps in a crate at night. And that's wonderful. Good for you. But can your dog stay in a crate during the day when you are there? Yeah, and they use them at night and when the people are out. This is the beginning of starting them being in a kennel where there's going to be other dogs around and there's people, is the ability to sit in a crate when you're home. Also super handy to have, depending on the company, when you want to wash floors. It's just a handy skill. Start this training by setting yourself up for success. Take your dog for a big run or out for a play date, making sure he is good and tired. Tired dogs are more likely to go to sleep. Find something to do that is going to keep you near the crate for a few hours, like read a book or watch a movie. You want your dog to be near you so you're not adding the challenge of being crated on top of the challenge of being alone, because most of our dogs would prefer to be with us than being separated from us. Finally, give the dog something of high value in the crate, such as a raw meaty bone or a frozen stuffed Kong. Yes, your dog will complain, probably for a few minutes, but then they'll likely settle down and go for a big chew, and then fall asleep because they're tired. This is a good start to training your dog to lie quietly in the crate no matter what is going on around them, and make them more comfortable when you do have to use a boarding kennel. One note, dogs, like us, take about 2 to 3 weeks to become comfortable with a change in their routine. So if you do this and your dog's really unhappy, stick it out for over 2 weeks. Stick it out for the 3 weeks. I promise you by the end of the 3 weeks, he's like, this is what we do. We come home, we go in the crate, we chew a bone, you read a book. This is what we do. And he'll start to settle down. I always take it to when you start a new diet, And the first week you're like, I hate this, I'm hungry, I'm uncomfortable, I don't want to eat that food. And then if you stick it out for 2 to 3 weeks, it becomes, oh, this is the new normal. This is what I do. So always remember that your dog is going to argue the point at first. And then eventually this becomes the new normal. It's like us wearing masks at first, or all these things we've had to do for COVID. Now they're normal. Everybody remembers their masks now. It's just normal. It's not even weird anymore. Okay, lastly, thing about going to the kennel is your dog doesn't always have access to grass, or they might have to go to the bathroom on leash depending on what the situation is. So making sure your dog is able to go to the bathroom on different surfaces and on or off leash. This is also super handy if you're traveling with your dog. I know dogs that get walked every day but wait to come home to relieve themselves in their own backyard, which is perfectly fine until you need them to relieve themselves when you're traveling, or they have to relieve themselves at the kennel and they've only ever gone to the bathroom in their backyard. Some dogs, I've known dogs that can't go to the bathroom on leash, or dogs that can only go to the bathroom on grass. Depending on the kennel, the dogs may be in their runs for the entire time, or let out once a day for some freedom. If your dog has in the past been particular about where to go to the bathroom, they might hold it when they are in their runs, which can make them super uncomfortable and lead to problems like constipation or bladder infections. I had this problem with one of my dogs who refused to poop on leash. Iggy, actually, my now almost 12-year-old border collie. I kept him on leash for a week. He did hold it for about 24 hours because we only went out on the leash and we were like, you poop or you don't poop. But eventually he didn't have a choice. By the end of the week, he had no problem. You'd take him out, he'd go to the bathroom on leash, no problem. If your dog has this problem and is particular on where they go to the bathroom, work on it first thing in the morning. I figure that's most dogs, like most people, they get up and they have to go pee. Let's say I'm working on my dog learning to pee, not on the grass, cement, pavement. For sure, easier with boy dogs because they like to pee on vertical surfaces, but much harder on girl dogs. First thing in the morning, take them on a leash and walk them down the middle of the road until they pee. As soon as they pee, you can let them go on whatever grass whatever you were working on. You can let them have freedom. They just need to do that one bathroom. If they don't go to the bathroom for you, give them however much time you decided to give them. And that could be 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, completely up to you. Let's face it, if you take them out and walk them for a half hour, they will almost guaranteed pee. But sometimes it's pouring rain and you're like, I'm not doing it. So bring them back home, put them in a crate. After about 15 minutes, go out and try again. Continue this till the dog goes, fine, I have no choice, I have to pee. Like any other new behavior, the more you do this, the easier it becomes. Same as the crate training. Even for travel, I cannot tell you how important these skills are for travel. I traveled 15 hours to Wisconsin with a friend's dog. And every 2 hours, we'd let the dogs out for a pee, and she wouldn't go. Finally, about hour 12, she peed in her crate because she just exploded. How uncomfortable was that poor dog? So you don't want to do that. Okay, guys, to summarize, here's the nookie. Oh, you can't see the nookie. Let's show you the nookie. There's the nookie. My dogs aren't here, but there is a dog here. So I'm not completely dog. Oh, nookie has a conversation. You wanted to talk? Thank you. Okay, to summarize, there are 3 things you want to work on to get your dog ready to go to the kennel. Socializing, crate training, and teaching your dog to go to the bathroom wherever you put them. I hope you have something planned soon so you can take advantage of these great skills you have worked on. If you're struggling, just a quick note about our Canine Reset program. Booking into August. Yes, I'm really busy, so now we're booking into August. So beat the back to school and end of summer rush because that will happen soon. And get your dog prepared for the new changes this new season will bring. Just send me a message to learn more. Join me again next Friday, and I'll be back home and doing the last part of my connection series. This one will be connecting with your dog off leash. I have a new game, which is an old game that I've just started using in so many different ways that I'm just loving the results I'm getting, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. Okay, guys, have a wonderful weekend. Hope you have something wonderful planned, and I will see you guys all next week. Happy weekend.